This episode of The Offensive Line is in partnership with Airbnb. When I'm traveling for a game or an event, you cannot go wrong with an Airbnb. Having all that space is seriously a game changer, whether I'm traveling solo or with a group. All right, we'll have more on that later. Let's get back to the show. Okay, the Rizzler. Are we going to see a sophomore slump or jump?
When I start seeing him do things that I wouldn't do in Madden, that's when I get nervous.
He said he thought someone grabbed his butt basically and was pulling his pants down.
I don't know why I'm feeling bad for a $400 million guy right there, you know?
Just like the Jets season, we are done.
I've never seen a team this successful that just doesn't seem to like each other.
You know, they can't all be put into good situations like apparently Caleb Williams has.
What if the aliens are gathering information, but they're getting all of it from the Jersey Shore?
From Wondery, I'm Annie Agar, and this is The Offensive Line. Welcome into The Offensive Line, you guys. I'm your host, Annie Agar. We're here to make some picks, talk some shit, and hopefully make you some money. Like I said, I will be your host today, but I am not just by myself. I am joined by our guest, host of Let's Go Football on Twitch, GrandPooBear. Pooh, thanks for joining us today.
Is this the first time you've ever had to introduce someone by a pseudonym? Yeah, like
Absolutely.
by a pseudonym. You know, because on Twitch, we don't go by our, you don't live by your real name, gamer culture. You got to be, a fake pretend name. So right. I definitely, when I picked my name a decade ago, I realized everyone would be calling me Pooh for the rest of my life.
Where did it come from? Where is that originate?
All right. So there's actually a website out there that has I make up a new story every time someone asks me this. There's a website that has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories out there. And the problem is I'm getting really bad. I've just ran through them all at this point. But for everyone that knows me, I used to be a race car driver, of course, and I hit a bear during a race, a Grand Prix, you know what I mean? And then the bear pooped. And that
of course.
That was the story.
That's and that may or may not be real.
Yep,
right. Well, that is the most logical explanation to the name.
I know. Like I said, I'm really running out of stories, though. We're going deep in the well here at this point.
Seems a lot more manly that way when you say it that way, because it is Pooh Bear.
Yeah, it was a big bear.
Race car driver. Yeah.
And then I got out and I dragged it off the road myself. After. No
we are no lies here on this show. Nothing can be taken the wrong way. Okay, well, we have to tell the people if they don't know, because I unfortunately do, who your NFL and or college team is. Let's start with the NFL one though.
Okay, I'm a Detroit Lions fan. I was born and raised right outside Detroit, Mount Clemens, Michigan.
Did you know I'm from Detroit? Did I tell you that?
Yes, I did know you were from Detroit. Yep. We had this conversation on my show,
yes,
and we did. And I heard the story about how you hated the Lions. Now, you didn't hate the Lions. You just saw everyone in tears about the Lions growing up.
Right.
And so you took the easy route out and became a Packer fan. The very easy, very non-Michigan way to do things. We don't take the easy way out, right? That's the Michigan way.
Back in the day, like the Mike McCarthy days, weren't all that great. So, Yeah, I should have picked Detroit now, although the injuries we'll get into later. But
I was just at Lambeau last month, and we stayed on Mike McCarthy Way. Like, our hotel was on Mike McCarthy Way. And I was just like, wow, this has to be the worst coach to have a road named after him in the history of coaching. Right.
So you can still win a Super Bowl and suck. That is, Mike McCarthy's taught us that. Okay, and your college team, tell the people. Do you have a college team?
I'm a Colorado Buffalo fan. Go Travis Hunter, Heisman winner. 4.0 student, two-way star, first athlete to ever win. Very, very proud of him.
And the first athlete to have a girlfriend with a ton of red flags. But that's that's beside the point.
Hey, this isn't my business. This isn't my business, okay?
Let the man do his thing, people.
Listen, I want him to come on my stream like Kai Cenat, so I love her, Travis. She seems great.
Listen to everybody else. Okay, speaking of things that are a little offensive, let's get into our first segment. We call it Too Offensive. These are things that are too offensive for us to even talk about on the show, Pooh. So I mention them for 2 seconds and then throw them away in the NFL vault to never be spoken about again. Starting with JT's dropped ball as he got... How do you not carry the ball across the goal line? I will never understand. It was bad. It was really bad. Could have put him up by 2 scores. Not good. Not a good look. Will Levis, that era is officially over, I believe. 3 interceptions. Looked atrocious. When did that era ever start is the question. And lastly, Josh Allen had a beautiful chest pass, little a little jumper at the goal line, and it got called back. So that leads me into our first question here. Should plays, just because they're incredibly fun, not be called back? Should there be a rule where we say, hey, that's never been done before. It's cool enough. Let it stand.
You know, this is something I actually do in video games. We have a rule where we play with each other where if it breaks the rule, but it's so great, like we allow it, we let it go. And I can count on my hand 5 big man touchdowns that I've seen in my day get called back. And these are legendary, great moments that will never be replayed for these men. These men could have these big man touchdowns for year after year after year, playing in their
Dan Skipper,
grandkids.
Case in point. Yeah.
That's a wonderful example. I don't disagree with this. I think that's something that we could take from, the action sports era, like, celebrate something that's never been done instead of shunning it with a yellow flag.
I agree. Same with, and this kind of plays into it too, catching the ball. This rule, refs still don't even know what a catch is, so it's annoying. But if you catch a ball with one hand, you should only need one foot. What are your thoughts on that rule? That's pretty cool, huh?
I can't, you know what? I like that.
Pretty interesting rule. Yeah.
I like that one. I think that's very good.
Maybe make it like opposite, so it's full out like.
Oh, so it's right hand, left foot, like maybe. Right hand, left foot. I'm sure that replay would be annoying to watch. No. Yeah, I'm sure the refs would be. I'm sure the refs are already good enough at their job.
Let's make it more difficult for the refs to get the right calls.
Absolutely, I'm sure we can see that one.
Oh man,
I'm actually, you know what? I do like that one though. But if they ever come into the two hands, like it has to be one the whole way.
Right. Okay. Yeah, like the full OBJ.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Speaking of, this is a perfect segue. Speaking of refs being atrocious, let's start with Washington. Philadelphia at Washington. This is our first game of the episode. Washington is a dog. Philly's favored -3.5. Like I said, it's at Washington. The NFC East may be locked up now, but that doesn't mean this still isn't going to be a pretty good match. Like I said, the refs played a big part in the Washington game last week. Did you see that whole clock situation that happened? Apparently,
yeah. I mean, I was watching on Red Zone, so like it was. They're like,
I think we all missed it. I think we missed it because I didn't see it until I saw it on Twitter. Apparently, the clock stopped in favor of the Saints. Gave them more time to snap the ball, but Washington still pulled out the win, pulled out the dub. So let's talk about this matchup with Philly because there's a lot of drama going on in Philadelphia right now. As we know, AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. I guess they're on the same page now.
They squashed it
danced
last night.
Together. So their passing game is back. The passing is not the issue. If you were a wide receiver, Pooh, would you start complaining to get more targets? Obviously, something happens when these wide receivers go to the media. I don't know if it draws the attention of their quarterback or their offensive coordinator, but they start getting the ball, it seems like a lot more. Do you think that's a tactic you would use, or does that scream a little bit too diva?
Listen, wide receivers are divas, and that's how it's been for 3 decades now, honestly. Since Randy Moss came into the league, wide receivers have, and I'm not hating on Randy by any means, but that attitude has carried over for wide receivers, and honestly, probably for the better. You know what I mean? When you look at the best wide receivers in the history of the game, most of them are divas, minus like Megatron. You could argue he retired early. That's his own way of divaing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't think history has shown us that. Listen, it might not be a good look for like a day in the local media, but history has shown us that it works for these wide receivers. They get the ball, they get their numbers, they get their stuff, and a lot of these teams get their win. And quite frankly, AJ Brown is one of maybe 7-8 wide receivers in the league that makes their quarterback better. He quite frankly makes Jalen Hurts a much better quarterback when he's out there. So getting him the ball makes a lot of sense. I understand his frustration, but at the same time, when you're 9-2, like I get the pushback to it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And Philly is scary. Like I don't know if they've solidified themselves as the best team in the NFL right now, but people are looking at Super Bowl pretty extensively. So I want you as a Lions fan here to defend your Lions as the best team in the NFC over Philadelphia. If you can do it, if possible.
Well, this is a lovely time to do it after we just lost 3 more defensive starters. I think the only day one starters on our defense left are rookies. Like that's it. You know, thank God we traded for Zadarius Smith, so we just have one guy over 30 like in there at the moment.
All that and your defense is still better than the Bengals. But, you know.
Yeah, well that's different. You know what I mean? We still have Dan Campbell biting knees. Listen, I would love Listen, the Detroit Lions have been the best team all year long. Everyone knows the Detroit Lions have been the best team all year long. A few injuries isn't going to stop that. Next man up will bite their knee. The next man up, bite their knees. We're ready to go. Listen, Detroit versus everybody. You know this. It's not just a slogan. It's a T-shirt.
I love that. Here's the thing. Would you trust Dan Campbell over Nick Sirianni? I would. I would want Dan Campbell. I'd take Dan Campbell over Nick any day.
They're both dangerous in different ways, though. Like, and I don't think Dan Campbell is a bad like X's and O's coach. I think Dan Campbell is literally just like drunk with gamble. Like at this point, the onside kick with 12 minutes left. That was a little egregious, even for the most risky. Madden of Madden players. You know what I mean? Like when I start seeing him do things that I wouldn't do in Madden, that's when I get nervous. And we saw that last week of the Packers when we went for it on fourth and a long yard and a half. Yeah. And then you guys scored 2 plays later. And then last week with the onside kick, and we saw how that worked out. I mean, 1 play and another touchdown. It's like everything we did on that drive was pointless. That's what I'm worried about.
I will say, though, and they were talking about this on Get Up the other day, his chances of stopping Josh Allen, even if you put him back on like the 10-yard line, they were slim. They're slim because their defense, their injuries, and it's Josh Allen. But you had 7% chance of getting that onside kick. I don't think the odds were better, but in Dan Campbell's mind, I think they were. He's like, have you seen our defense and Josh Allen? I'm going to take the 7%. Did it work out? Absolutely not. But if it did, we'd have been saying he was the best thing to ever happen to football. Okay, let's turn our attention to Washington and focus on Jaden Daniels here. We can check in on how some of the rookies are doing. We've seen enough of these guys to have takes, so it's time to predict and debate what we think year 2 holds for them. It's time for a little game we're calling Slump or Jump. There are 2 options. Do you think they will A, have a sophomore slump, or B, take the leap? We have a couple guys, and then we have a couple other topics too, because things can have a sophomore slump that aren't necessarily just players. Let's start with Jaden Daniels. Do you think year 2 holds more for him or less? Is he going to slump or jump?
Oh, I think Jaden Daniels is actually going to have a jump. Not a huge one because he's had such an amazing rookie year, but just everything you hear about him, the more I hear about him off the field, his wonderful VR headset training, like I feel like he's obsessed with that. He does it all the time.
Is.
And I think that's going to help him have a legitimate jump, and it's going to be hard because he's had such a great rookie year, but I think the offense is going to open up to him next year. He's going to be a lot more trusted. Obviously, he's going to be able to make more calls at the line than he has been this year. I think we're looking at a jump for Jaden.
Okay. What about Caleb Williams?
I think there's nowhere to go but up for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is such a fascinating, like he's so weird because there's some plays where you see him and you're like, oh yeah, understand the number 1. There's some games where you see him, understand the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And then there's other throws like the touchdown pass he missed last night. Keenan Allen had 5 yards on the guy on the left side, and he just airballed it to him. And that's not something we saw him do at USC. What's so weird about Caleb in the league so far this year is that he's been bad on the run. The thing that he was so good at USC, so accurate at USC, he's been great in the pocket. His balls have been super accurate in the pocket if you look at the stats. On the run, it's just not been there. And I don't know if it's just getting used to the speed or anything. I think we'll see a jump just because of get more used to the game, but I'm more worried about Caleb. A little bit more worried about Caleb than Jaden.
Let's do Bo Nix. Slump or jump?
I think Bo Nix goes to the slump. Doesn't have the arm strength to really keep going, and they've already opened up the offense for him.
Plus, he's so old. I mean, you gotta.
He's 44 years old already.
44. He's older than us. Okay, what about Jim Harbaugh? Let's do a coach. Throw a coach in there.
Jim Harbaugh. That's an interesting one. Jim Harbaugh goes 3 years before he slumps. So, another jump for him. After 3, that's when people get tired of him. Yeah. Okay,
we'll give him. We won't have a sophomore slump, maybe a junior slump. All right. What about these topics? What about high-paid running backs? Are that going to be a sophomore slump or jump?
We're going to have a jump next year, and teams are going to pay for that because there's going to be a lot of teams paying for like a Tyler Algier out there and not a Derrick Henry.
Except for probably the Cowboys. Well, they might get Ashton Genty. So what about kickoff rules? Sophomore slump or jump?
Slump. I mean, we got to figure something out here. This doesn't work.
Okay, 12-team college football playoff. Slump or jump?
Jump. I'm excited. I mean, more teams in the playoffs. Let's throw 64 in there. It works in other sports. I mean, let's do it.
No matter what happens, people will be upset with it, but it's just because their team's not in it. Get over it, people. Okay, here's some other things that are trending this year. Ozempic. Are we going to see a sophomore slump or jump?
Oh, I don't know if we're seeing that in the next coming in there. As my wife pops in.
Great timing as we talk about Ozempic.
She is not on 20 pounds this year, all natural, baby.
Good for her. Let's do a just slump just for that. Just for that, killing it. Okay, what about the drones in New Jersey? Are there going to be more drones? Slump or jump?
Oh, big jump in drones coming. What do you bigger ones, rounder ones?
Yeah, just gathering intelligence up there. I don't know why they picked New Jersey to do it in, but they did. It's not over MetLife Stadium.
You know what actually I worry about? What if the aliens are gathering information, but they're getting all of it from the Jersey Shore? Like, what if that's what they're doing? That's
and then
terrifying.
They come back and they're just a bunch of Jersey Shore. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. That is pretty terrifying. Somebody said, if you could send someone out to the aliens to tell them about the Earth, who would you send? And somebody quote tweeted it and said Jameis Winston. Can't argue with that. The false information, that would be crazy. Okay, the Rizzler. Are we going to see a sophomore slump or jump?
Listen, you get about 3 months as the internet person, like,
well,
and you're on the internet.
Is still around.
Is she though? The meme coin, listen, Talk Tua hasn't come out in 2 weeks now. Okay. Like, is she the meme? I think she might have taken that meme coin money and bounced, like.
Man, you got a beat on that. Jeez.
Why do I know that the Talk Tua podcast? This is so pathetic part of my life.
That's scary. That's scary. Okay, we'll end it with the offensive line. This podcast, is it going to have a sophomore slump or jump? I will not take it personally if you say we're going to be in a sophomore slump.
I mean, big jump. Listen, after you have a giant celebrity like myself come on here, you know what I mean?
Great point.
The numbers can only go up. Like, this is clearly going to be one of your biggest episodes, I don't know what other esteemed guests you've had on this podcast, but
it doesn't get any better. We're ending the year with this. We're just done.
The viewers are definitely like, oh, the GrandPooBear episode, finally. So.
Just like the Jets season, we are done. Okay, let's pick a winner for this game. Philadelphia at Washington. I said Washington's +3.5. Who are you taking in this game, Pooh?
You got to roll a Philly right now. I mean, even as good as Washington's been, they have relied a lot on Terry McLaurin, and Philly's secondary is just so good. I don't know. How do you get past Cooper DeJean in the nickel? Like, you know what I mean? What do you do with that, man?
That defense looks so good. I think I will as well. I'm gonna take Philly. We got to disagree on something here, but I will go with Philly.
We'll try. You know what?
We'll try. We're just great minds think, look at us. We're so in sync.
Finish each other's
sandwiches. Yeah. No, I did not just reference Frozen, by the way, guys. I'm way too old for that. A few times this year, Pooh, I've had to help some fans navigate their sports trauma. Well, our work caught the attention of the NFL, and I've been called to be the team therapist for none other than the Philadelphia Eagles. And you're coming with me. So this is the Philadelphia Eagles support group. Okay, let's ground ourselves. No joking. This is a very serious matter. Let's ground ourselves in the moment and breathe into it, okay? Why? These are questions I want to ask the Philadelphia Eagles fan base. Why are they afraid of success? What is preventing you from feeling that? Are you able to release your defense mechanism of self-sabotage to take a leap of faith towards inner fulfillment? Okay, maybe look inward a little bit more. Try some ayahuasca. Now that we've gotten through those feelings, I feel like there's a 4-step plan here that we can achieve. And Pooh, you just chime in and tell me what you think of my solutions here. Mm-hmm. The first one, the famous philosopher Jackie Moon once said, everybody love everybody. Okay, that's never failed anybody. I don't know why they don't try it. Obviously, there's a lot of drama in that locker room. The second one, I would say, don't spill the tea. Let's just keep it to ourselves. Let's not talk in front of the media, okay? Especially with a huge diamond around our neck, maybe just keep it inward. Not calling anybody out or anything. And then the third is maybe don't cave into temper tantrums. We've seen this all too much this year. And the last one, winning cures all. I don't know if Philadelphia's tried this or not, but winning a Super Bowl kind of can help your dynamic a little bit more. What do you think of our solutions, Pooh? Do you have any to offer?
No, I mean, I think that's wonderful. I think Jalen Hurts did come out a little bit last night in the Nino Brown look,
he did.
The New Jack City look. I'm my brother's keeper is the vibe he was trying to give off last night. And I thought that was very a good leadership role. You know what I mean? A good leadership moment. And definitely didn't add to the fire after a win. It was not a strange press conference at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if the media would just leave them alone for the rest of the season, everybody would be happy. But that's not the case here.
It was just the Philadelphia media making it all up.
It was.
Everything's okay.
It was all our fault. We take full credit, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, support group over. They might not have a great rest of the season, but you know what? They've worked through their problems, we think. I think there's so much hidden under the surface that we don't even see. because we were talking about it like last year. We didn't even know about the Sirianni Jalen Hurts thing until after the season. Weird stuff going on in Philly, guys. I don't know what it is. Something's in the water.
I've never seen a team this successful that just doesn't seem to like each other. Like coach, number one receiver, number one quarterback. They don't seem to like each other.
Some Philly fans were talking about it on Twitter. They said, nothing is worse than winning and then waiting till the day after to hear about all the reasons why you shouldn't have. That's like all Philadelphia talks about. And I don't know if it's the team or if it's the fans, but guys, get it together. Figure it out. Speaking of drama and catastrophic teams, Kansas City is up next, guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about Mahomes and the lovely Chiefs. Stay tuned right here on the offensive line. As a content creator, you guys can probably imagine I travel to places solo a lot of the time. And even though I do it a lot, I still feel a little anxious when I travel to a city I've never been to before by myself. So that's kind of how I felt when I was traveling to LA a few years ago for the big game. I wasn't very familiar with the area yet because SoFi Stadium was new, and I was a little anxious because I was staying for 2 weeks. But the moment I got to my Airbnb in Marina del Rey, all worries completely vanished because it was such a nice modern apartment complex that was right in the middle of town. It felt like my own personal apartment. The Airbnb itself had 3 rooms, which is wonderful because it fit all my recording equipment, and I had a lot, and all my clothes. And I was able to take advantage of some of the amenities. There was a gym and a pool. I even met some of the neighbors. So after 2 weeks of being there, it felt like I'd really moved in. So if you guys are like me and you want to make sure there are no surprises when you're booking a place to stay, then you need to check out Airbnb's guest favorites. They're favorites for a reason. It's because they have a bunch of great ratings and reviews, so you know you're booking a winner. I'm always reading up on the reviews before I book a place, so it's great that Airbnb already kind of filters that out for you. That's why I know that every time I'm staying at an Airbnb, I can always count on having a great experience. All right, guys, it is the most wonderful time of the year for getting in on all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college and pro football, basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code TOL. That's code TOL for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
All right, welcome back to the offensive line, guys. Now we're going to talk a little AFC North action. We have Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Baltimore is -6 to Pittsburgh. Is Lamar, Pooh, the most exciting player in the league, or is it Josh Allen? Not even MVP, just exciting, just fun to watch.
I mean, for me personally, I like watching Lamar. If you pick Josh Allen, though, I don't think you're wrong. I know this is such a boring, non-podcasty answer that I'm giving right now. No, I like Lamar. I like the run 20 yards backwards, still get 8-yard gain, and just politely go out of bounds.
While pulling his pants up,
Yeah, pulling. What was going on with that? Was that because he didn't do it the rest of the game? So that was just like a.
He said he thought someone grabbed his butt. Basically, he was pulling his pants down, and I think that happened to Derrick Henry. Right? Wasn't his ass out there for everybody to see? So maybe he was getting flashbacks, and he was like, I don't want my butt exposed like that. So.
Look, everything looks really, really easy for Lamar right now. And something I want to point out about Lamar Jackson is I love watching his play action because he does it like it's so lazy and then he takes off and and this is something like really, really dumb and small, but like that, because I'm a football nerd, like you sit there and watch like which quarterback's got the best play action. Lamar Jackson is coming right up. Aaron Rodgers had the best play action. As much as I hate him, I have to admit it. Lamar Jackson is the next bust. He is the next coming of the greatest play action fake in the league. Like he is the man with it. I love watching Lamar. And also I just watched Josh Allen put up nearly 50 on my team. So I did enjoy that. I obviously did not have a good time watching that.
It seems like, that game was, we'll get into that in a little bit, but it seems like Josh Allen is fun to watch because he does things he needs to do in order to survive. But Lamar does things that are a little bit more calculated, it feels like. So I enjoy watching Lamar for that experience. I don't feel like I'm panicking that maybe he's going to jump over, hurdle 3 people and injure himself. I don't know. Not that Josh Allen would because he's massive, but, it's a little more calculated with Lamar. In terms of Pittsburgh here, were the Steelers exposed as frauds, do you think? Or was this just an off game from Mike Tomlin and the crew?
I mean, that's tough. I mean, how can you be exposed as frauds against the number 1 team in the league?
Yeah.
But I do think this Steelers team does have a lot of last year's problems still there. And when you see TJ Watt starting to limp around, starting to be hurt every play, this is not a good sign for them. Without TJ Watt, that defense is very, very different. We've seen that over the last 3 years when he's been hurt. So if they do lose him for any extended period of time, even plays at a time, that's very detrimental to that team. So you don't want to see that. I'm not so sure that they're frauds. I'm not sure a Mike Tomlin team can be a fraud. I think he could win. Right. I think he could put me at quarterback and still probably win 8 games. And I can't throw the 15-yard out. So I'm very. I don't want to call them frauds, but I don't see them being more than a second-round team. So if you feel like they're more than a second-round team, then yes, I think they're frauds.
Yeah, that's a good point. What expectation do you have for them? They need George Pickens back. That's what they need. And they cannot run the ball. Najee, the terrible fumble. It's a struggle, and they need George Pickens to save that offense. Okay, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. Like I said, Baltimore's -6. Who is your pick in this game?
I'm going to take Baltimore. I don't know why, but I foolishly still have Baltimore as my Super Bowl team. I'm not getting off this hump. I mean, I even though Justin Tucker can't kick, their defense can't play.
Just
I don't know
on
why.
Every drive and then go for 2.
Yes, I don't know why, but I'm foolishly still taking Baltimore. I think I just love Lamar so much that I'm trying to will him to a Super Bowl so he can take his rightful place.
Yeah, this might be where we disagree. I might take Pittsburgh to cover here. I'm feeling a little trap gamey here. AFC North, you never know.
AFC North games are always close. It doesn't matter who's playing.
And they're always like a scuffle. Like some fight's going to break out or something. Mm-hmm. Now, my man out if George Pickens isn't there because he usually starts them. Okay, let's move on to the team everybody loves to talk about so much, Kansas City. Houston at Kansas City. They are actually, wait a second, are they not favored in this game? They're +2.5. I mean, I figured they'd be favored by 1 or something. Kansas City is all but locked up the 1 seed, and the because Mahomes, and the Texans already punched their ticket to the playoffs. Pat Mahomes is projected to miss this game, which people were talking on Twitter. That's why I was so shocked by the line here, that it sounds like he might be good to go. I don't know why you would play him with the risk of, a three-peat and all that. Just wait till he's completely good. It is a mild ankle sprain. Everybody stop panicking. The world isn't ending. But yeah, that is the cause for them not being favored in this game against Houston. I guess let's just start there. What thoughts on Mahomes and this whole banged up situation?
Mahomes, normally I would agree with you that you sit him, but Mahomes has shown that he has these rock solid hard ankles. We've seen him roll his ankles horrible ways in playoff games before, and he just pops right back, tapes it up, pops it right back out.
What was the game earlier this season when we thought he twisted his hip or something?
Yeah, for whatever reason, this man can take an ankle sprain and still roll on. So any other quarterback, I'd be like, yes, let's do it. With Mahomes, I also just feel like maybe just sit him for a week and see what happens with the offense anyway.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you have a 2-game lead. You have a 2-game lead in the division. I guess it's only functioning a game and a half since they lost.
1 seed. That's what the only issue is if you get, you're banking on that 1 seed and you got to get, the Bills have the tiebreaker, obviously. So that's a concern. But hey, what a great test for your offense to have Carson Wentz under center, because that'll tell you how good your offense really is when you have Carson Wentz leading back there, because he's a little rough, a little shaky, guys. Although, let's say he goes on to play in the Super Bowl for some unknown reason, and they play the Eagles, and it's reverse Nick Foles. How funny would that be? Would that not be hilarious?
That'd be the ultimate Rudy sequel type movie. You know what I mean? That would be amazing.
Who would play Carson Wentz in a movie? Bradley Cooper? No.
Yeah, he's too old.
He's not red enough.
He's too old.
Well, in our defense, we haven't seen Carson Wentz in a long time, so he may have aged a lot.
I know. I'm trying to picture what Carson Wentz looks like right now. Because I'm picturing 2007.
Just picture 5 interceptions, and that's what he looks like.
Literally, the only picture I'm having of Carson Wentz right now is on the sidelines at the Super Bowl. That's all I'm thinking of.
I honestly, there was one point, I think it was earlier in the season, I was like, oh yeah, Carson Wentz is on the Chiefs. Totally forgot. Totally forgot. Poor guy. Okay, so that brings me to my next topic here. What is possibly a worse drop-off? So we have the drop-off from Pat Mahomes to Carson Wentz. Massive. Okay, so I have a couple examples, and you can fill in here if you have any other. Like, I'm thinking like Nobu sushi to gas station sushi, like those kind of drop-offs. That's the drastic levels we're talking about here.
Okay.
Another one might be like Space Jam 1 to Space Jam 2.
Oof.
A little bit, maybe a little bit closer, but it was pretty bad. Pretty bad. And the last one I thought of was Aaron Judge in the regular season versus Aaron Judge in the postseason.
Oh, that's pretty so bad. Mean to Aaron Judge. Just so.
My guy, stop striking out in the postseason.
I don't know why I'm feeling bad for a $400 million guy right there, you know?
Right. Those are, that's the kind of dropout. Can you think of any other topics that were?
I mean, I think we're missing the big one. It's
okay.
2019 Deshaun Watson to whatever we have now.
Oh, unbelievable.
Morally, life, everything, just complete
total drop. That's a great one. That's a $200 million drop. That's a great one. Great call. I think that ends the segment right there. That's a pretty good one. Okay, let's do a pick for this game. We have Houston and Kansas City. Let's go with the Carson Wentz thing, because like we said, it would be dumb if he's not 100% to have him play in this game. So we got Carson Wentz starting in this game. Are you taking Kansas City?
So I'm one of those people that it's really hard for me to pick against the two-time Super Bowl defending champions who are 13-1, even despite everything that's happened with them, despite the way they win games. They can't beat any team by more than a possession. It's even with Carson Wentz. I don't know why. I still think they're the best coach team in the league. They have the best defense in the league. They're the only team that hasn't given up 30 all year long. I still think that they can overcome even not having Patrick Mahomes, especially with what CJ Stroud's been doing. CJ Stroud's been turning the ball over a lot lately.
Yeah.
I still would go Kansas City, and I don't know why, but I can't bring myself away from picking Kansas City.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm with you on that.
Oh my gosh.
I go Kansas City. I know.
Wow.
We have one that we're differing on so far, so that's good.
Okay.
But Kansas City is you can't bet against them, unfortunately.
Right.
All right. Wow. That's a rough one. Unfortunately, that is not the worst game that is happening. Stay tuned, you guys, on the offensive line to hear our most offensive game of the week. Okay, let's do New England at Buffalo. Buffalo is minus 14.5. Patriots head to Buffalo to take on Super Bowl favorites. And like I said, 14.5. That's absolutely insane. The Bills are now plus 425 to win the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen is commanding minus 900 to win MVP. Of course, they played your beloved Lions last. Is this finally the year the Bills pull it together, in your opinion?
I mean, I'd love to say Buffalo fans, this is your year, but how are y'all going to win in the playoffs when your team is giving up 40 points a game every single week? And I know, listen, I have the same problem with my Lions right now. You know, we have that exact same issue, but your team's healthy. You have no excuses like that. This is a very bad defense being hidden by some heroic performances by Josh Allen right now. And I don't see them being able to overcome that in the playoffs. Like I just can't see that. Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing. Cause it's like the Bengals situation where I mean, the Bills obviously have been winning, but the Bengals have not, but they've got Joe Burrow in this insane offense putting up within 3 games, they put up like some insane number of points. It was like 99 points or something like that. But you have all of these offensive, insane MVP candidates at, under center and all this. And then you've got defenses that are allowing the same number of points. And it just depends on where that balance is. Obviously, the Bengals is teetering the wrong way. The Bills keep coming out on top. And it's been weird. But like you said, it doesn't feel like quite a Super Bowl run, a Super Bowl team. This game, I think, is going to be atrocious. I would recommend no one watch it other than to see Josh Allen play. Although Drake May, I will give some credit to the Patriots. Drake May is having a pretty good year considering he's literally by himself out there. And Gerard Mayo isn't much help either. What are your thoughts on Drake May? How do you feel about him?
You know what? I was a big Drake May hater coming into this season. I did not see it in college. I thought he had a few too many turnovers. But I got to admit, I think I was wrong. Drake May looks like a leader out there. That little flip pass he did, that was a football play. Like, that's a football player. And that was just something that you don't teach that. That's an intangible that you can't teach. I kind of am a Drake May believer now. He has turned me, despite the fact that New England's an absolute dumpster fire. Also, the fact that Travis might be catching passes from him next year. I really need Drake to do well. I want Travis.
In every mock draft, it was like, for every 5 mock drafts, all 3 of them said Patriots for Travis.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, they're the only one that doesn't need a quarterback,
Yeah, yep. It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a ton of guys coming out of UNC now that Bills over there. They'll look a lot like Drake May. They're probably going to be like lacrosse players from some D2 school that he found somewhere, and he just recruits them and doesn't actually pay them NIL money. He's like, here's $5. Come play for me at UNC. Oh, man. Okay, let's pick a winner for this game. New England and Buffalo. Pretty straightforward here. You could take New England to cover. But like we said, it's the Bills and the Bills offense. I'm going to take the Bills to cover minus 14.5. What's your pick?
I hate taking anything 14.5. I really hate taking anything over 11 anytime any 2 teams play. But I'm not sure that New England, I know we just slurped Drake May right there, but I'm not sure New England can score 30. And I do see the Bills putting up another 40. Sorry to anyone playing against Josh Allen this week in the playoffs. So,
okay, let's get into our most offensive game of the week. This is the game that is going to be pretty tough to watch, guys. We had a couple of them last week. This one, in honor of Pooh, I had to go with Chicago at Detroit. And Detroit is minus 6.5. The minus 6.5 is egregious on its own against Chicago. Like, have we been watching Chicago? Minus 6.5, you're telling me? Detroit is favored by minus 6.5. I know your lines are severely depleted. 21 players on your IR. Yikes, guys. We're down bad. They've had more injuries this year than Joel Embiid. It's rough. Okay. Let's start with the Lions side of things here. Who do you think are the Lions' biggest rivals, first of all, other than themselves?
Well, every team in the NFC North's biggest rivals is the Packers. All of our biggest rivals are the Packers. That's just how it is.
Which is so weird. What did we do to you guys?
You've won 40 of our 50 division titles. What do you mean? Like, what are we talking about?
Come on.
You had 3 generational I'm 40 years old. I've seen 3 quarterbacks play for the Packers. You know how many times I've seen
generational talent?
This is ridiculous at this point, like midway through last season, I literally texted my dad. I was like, my dad's a huge Packer fan. I texted him and I'm like, can I curse? I'm like, how the do you get another generational guy in Jordan Love? What the hell happened here?
I think the worst part is when we did draft him, people were upset about it. I was upset about it. I thought, what are we alienating Aaron Rodgers? This is the stupidest thing to trade up for a guy. Oh, and now look how stupid we all look.
They knew what they were doing. But no, I mean, I think our biggest rival in not just the NFL, the NFC North, it's always going to be the Packers for us.
Yeah.
And I think that really applies this year because I think the Packers are a Super Bowl quality team. I think they're one of the few teams in the NFC that is a Super Bowl quality team. I think the Philadelphia Eagles and a healthy Detroit Lions. I'm trying to be objective here on your show because I respect you, Annie. I want to give you objective journalism, not just Homer journalism.
Might be the first time we've had respect on the show, but that's good.
And to a lesser extent, a healthy Detroit Lions. I think those are the 3 teams in the NFC that can really win the NFC Championship and go on and win the Super Bowl. I think the Packers are our biggest rival. I think you see it when we play. I mean, Deion Branch let everyone know that he thought your fans were number 1 and number 2. And me and my son were in the crowd doing the same thing, so that's our rival. That's our team. And it's really fun for us now because now we're your rival, whereas we never used to be, and now we are though.
It was like the little brother Michigan State rivalry thing. Now we're a little bit more even.
Yeah.
Okay. Hutch says and he might be back for Super Bowl. Are you buying that?
I have no doubt that Hutch wants to play the Super Bowl if we make the Super Bowl, but that's such a specific date. Like if you can play in the Super Bowl but not the NFC Championship game, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? How effective are we talking? What are we? Got too much to lose. Hutchinson's too great a player to, I'm not saying waste him in a Super Bowl. Obviously, it's the biggest game we might ever have in our franchise history, but what are we talking about here?
Yeah. It's like Jack. Do you watch the movie Miracle? I love that movie. It's a great movie. Like Jack O'Callahan when he's injured and they're playing in the Olympics.
I'm with that. I will say it's more realistic than Aaron Rodgers saying he was going to play last year by Thanksgiving with his torn ACL. Yes.
Yeah. Although he had some holistic healing done, so you never know. As an NFC North fan, how happy are you that Caleb looks like an absolute bust? Because if you watch the game on Monday night, guys, it was rough, okay? It wasn't even just, like we talked about this earlier in the show too. He's pulling up USC stuff again, like scramble drills back there. You can't do that in the NFL. Taking 10-yard sacks. It's rough. He's not releasing the ball quickly enough. The throws are going over everybody's head other than that really cool Keenan Allen one. It's a tough look for Caleb, and I thought maybe it was the coaching that got changed and it still looks bad. I think he's regressing, but I also think he's kind of quit on this season. So how does that make you feel as an NFC North fan to know that that the Bears again have failed another quarterback?
I don't know if Caleb's a bust. I think just playing quarterback for Chicago is a bust.
It might be.
Maybe that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It is the curse.
Because and it's weird because like Caleb has moments and he's had games this year where you're like, oh yeah, clearly the best quarterback out of that class. But then he has games like Monday where it doesn't even look like it got to a point where it didn't look like he was trying, which I don't want to say that. I don't want to judge anyone's effort here. I'm not judging another grown man's effort, but the vibe is not good right there in Chicago.
The vibe is not good. And there was a picture of him like on the bench, he just did not look happy. Not a happy man.
Okay, I'm gonna be a hater on this for a second though. Like how that just might be a very inconvenient time to have the camera on you. You know what I mean? It totally
was. If I could have a camera on him 24/7, absolutely. Right. I would have a camera on him 24/7 and I would screenshot all of them and use them as memes. No pity whatsoever. You're in the public eye. We're gonna take that quite literally. Maybe that's what the drones are for. Maybe they're just taking it's for me.
Caleb Williams pictures.
Yeah. Caleb Williams pictures. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, pick for this game. Obviously, I think you're going to go with Detroit. I am absolutely going with Detroit. I might do an alternate line here to get more points out of it. Better spread. But what are your thoughts? Detroit?
Listen, as bad and as beat up as Detroit's defense has been the last few weeks, as many starters are missing, they're still going to be able to handle whatever is going on offensively with Chicago. Okay. Their offense is offensive.
Their offense, it is very offensive. Or lack thereof, whichever one is worse. Okay, on to part of the show where we get to rant a little bit here, Pooh. This is called No Offense. This is part of the show where you can talk about whatever comes to mind, whatever you want to get off your chest. It's our little piece, our little escape here, okay? I'm going to start. All you have to do is say, you have to start your rant with no offense because everybody knows when you say that, you're not being offensive. So I will start, give you time to think about your rant, and then I'll just let you go. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
No offense, but Red Zone having commercials is a crime against humanity. Guys, this might be the end of society as we know it. What happened to the game I love? Okay, I know you guys all saw it. There was a Gatorade commercial. There was a Verizon commercial talking about how they have better coverage than the Bengals secondary. They have infiltrated holy ground, and I'm not okay with it. This is not Scott Hansen's fault. Let me just throw that out there because he is a friend of the show, so we got to defend him. But 7 hours of commercial-free football should mean exactly that. I don't want to see any of these commercials. I want to see every minute of the horrible, awful football games that we get put through, most of them involving the Giants. I want to see every hold, every bad call. I don't want to see commercials about Lamar's perfume that he wears, apparently. Take me back to the classics, okay? Get me back to commercial-free Red Zone, where I want to watch football in peace and I can yell at the TV without these ads. That is my rant.
I think that's absolutely fair. I was shocked and appalled.
Wasn't that wild?
When I saw that. And they muted the game.
I was going to say, it was the muted game. That I wouldn't have even noticed it had it not been for the silence. And I was like, wait a second. Scott's not talking and there's no coverage going on. Something is happening. And it was an ad. It was a commercial.
I may or may not have been looking at my phone at that time, as I tend to do sometimes in the late afternoon games.
I think we all do.
We're checking your fantasy team, scrolling your TikToks, seeing how your views hit, right? You get it, replying to comments, working is what we're doing.
We're working. It's social media, guys. We're working.
And and it was the silence. And I looked up and I was like, what the hell is happening right now? This was shocking to me.
It was weird. Apparently it won't continue, they said. It was a trial thing. Obviously, America was not okay with it. So we're taking back Red Zone, guys. We're taking it back.
Gotta let your anger be heard out there.
Gotta let it be heard. Okay, your turn. Right. Your turn to rant.
No offense, but going back to our friend Travis Hunter, not my friend yet, but Kai's not the only streamer out there, Travis. Anyway, Travis, I was a little perturbed about some of the Heisman discussion because it didn't even seem like it was Ashton Gentry versus Travis Hunter, but it seemed like a lot of people on Twitter were making it like good versus evil. Like if Travis Hunter won without having the number one in any statistic, it was such a bad thing. And the problem is that they were using these average, crappy, quite frankly, non-football watching statistics. Do you know what Travis Hunter led the country in? Interceptions per target rate. That means people just weren't throwing to him. And if they did throw to him, he got a pick. You know what he led the country in? Completion percentage per target rate on defensive. You know what he led the country in? Over average points per target on the receiving end. So the more you threw to Travis Hunter, the more points you were going to get. These are advanced statistics, okay? And I know some of you have to look that up. They're not as clean on the back of a football card as normally you would like to see, right? But these are the real statistics. This is what real football is. And this is why Travis Hunter is going to get drafted before Ashton Gentry. Because again, he is just quite frankly the greatest football player in the country today, collegiate-wise. And he's one of the greatest we've ever seen. He's one of the greatest football seasons we've ever seen. We've never seen a player go on offense and defense, and he's the best player on the field every single time he steps on. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't good for Steve. What?
Didn't you know, Pooh, that he got the Heisman because of the snaps? Didn't you? Well, it doesn't only say that mattered, apparently.
Which is a statistic. That is another statistic.
I'm just trying to rile you up. I think it was a very, very well-deserved award. He's just the coolest guy, too, like we talked about earlier on the show. I would absolutely love to meet him. I think he's just a top-tier guy. Not saying that Ashton Gentry isn't either, but
that's what you said. You know what? The good versus evil. Good was Travis. Evil was I'm just joking. Ashton Gentry seems no, he totally seems me.
I can't wait to see him in the league where their rookie years are going to be terrible because the NFL sucks. Guys, it's so frustrating because they come into organizations that are just like the whole Patriots thing, and credits Drake May handling that whole situation, but they can't all be put into good situations like apparently Caleb Williams has, best situation. Sorry for me.
It's rough. It's hard of it. But like, what rookie is going to succeed in Carolina? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to go to Carolina next year and succeed? It's so
David
crazy.
Tepper can't even succeed, let alone a rookie.
Yeah, so many teams. There's a lot of these bottom feeding teams that just feel so talent depleted. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you're going to Cleveland, I might feel okay, but otherwise, any of these bottom feeding teams, they feel like they're 2-3 years away right now.
Which, as an owner or a GM, that would be so tough to manage that team and think about. It's like you can't get instant gratification. It's going to be years till you see that work out. Yikes. But in the meantime, while they suck, we're going to make money off them and we're going to bet on them. So let's go over our picks. We agreed on quite a few, actually. I think there's only one that we didn't agree on.
We better be right then.
We better be right. Otherwise, this looks really bad. Okay, we agreed on Philly -3.5 versus Washington, Kansas City +2.5 against Houston, Buffalo -14.5 against New England, and Detroit -6.5 against Chicago. You picked, Pooh, Baltimore -6 versus Pittsburgh, and I took Pittsburgh +6 to cover against Baltimore. I feel pretty good about that.
Okay.
I think the majority of the ones that we agreed on, I think all the ones we agreed on are going to hit because
parlay it up.
Parlay it up, guys.
Parlay it up.
Never works for me. Apparently, there was a guy that put a bet. He had a parlay going. I don't know if it was all the Sunday games, but he had a parlay going, and he needed a Jonathan Taylor touchdown to win the parlay. Could you imagine?
Oh, how does it happen?
Nope.
How does it happen multiple times every year? That's what I don't understand.
Wasn't it Deshaun Jackson that did it?
Yes, many years ago.
What are we thinking here, people?
It's happened.
Just carry the ball through the end zone.
Yeah, it's happened twice in the NFL
Dan
this year.
Orlovsky can do it. I say that in my video too. Poor guy. Love you, Dan. Come on the show, please. Oh, poor Dano. All right, Pooh. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure you have lots to get to, lots of streams to go tackle and bring content to the amazing social media world. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be on with us. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
I'll root for your Lions, hopefully, for the rest of the season for a little bit.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I'll root for them to not get injured anymore. How about that?
I'm going to hold you to that.
I just can't handle my brother texting me crying faces anymore. I need a reprieve. All right, thanks for joining us, Pooh. That's it for this week on The Offensive Line, guys. Be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch our full podcast episodes on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And as always, I will see you guys next week. Des didn't catch it.